Hi, everybody, and welcome. Today, I wanted to introduce somebody new to you as Stephen is off gallivanting and vacationing and hopefully seeking out awesome bookstores, finding us some more stories. But instead, I wanted to introduce, let's go with an unsung hero behind our show here. He is our executive producer, our EP, as I like to call him. He's also my husband. His name's David. He hasn't been on here before, but he is an attentive listener and really has a lot of input both on the stories we've done and how we do it. So I wanted to say hi to him tonight.
Well, hello.
Hi.
It's interesting to be on this side of it. This is where it all happens, huh?
It's strange to talk to your husband through a microphone. I will say that's true.
Sitting across the table.
Dave has been part of my family for, almost 20 years now, coming up on. So you've known Stephen a long time, too.
Almost 20 years now.
David, back in the day, was a history major in school. And what did you study? Honor codes. That's what I remember, honor codes.
That was my interest that I never really followed through on, although it sounded cool because the idea of dueling and stuff initially sounded brutal to me, really. But as you think about it more and more, people were able to settle a lot through dueling or like mutual combat that I think people just really don't have that anymore. People have suing each other or like libel
lawsuits
or just slamming each other on social media from behind a keyboard. And it's like, if you were going to say something, then you better mean it and you better back it up. I find that interesting. And so I think that's what I was drawn towards near the end of my time as a college person.
Yeah, it's where the interest lay, but kind of over time, that's, I think, where like the books you do read and the podcasts you do listen to, they kind of orient around that. Like what it is to be a man, what it means to have courage and honor in this day and age, or what it meant long ago, or some kind of comparison. But I think you yourself would admit that you're not much of a reader. Is that right?
Not much of a reader in comparison to you or to Stephen. I think
no one should compare themselves to Stephen in terms of reading.
Okay, fair.
You know, that's a mistake.
Who reads the complete works of G.K. Chesterton for
funsies?
For funsies.
Like 3 people, I think. I don't know. They're out there.
I'm not saying this is a bad thing to do.
No.
It's a wonderful thing to do that I'm not going to find time to do.
I probably won't either. I do read a lot, but I mean, you're the kind of person who I think means to read, but doesn't really get around to doing. I call this the reluctant reader. Do you think that fits?
I am reluctant, and I'm even more reluctant if somebody recommends something to me. That almost guarantees I'm not going to read it anytime soon.
Why? Why is that?
I don't know. It's probably a psychological issue.
Being rebellious.
Yeah, for no reason.
For no reason. Well, I'll go back to the EP thing. So EP, executive producer, Dave, we always toast each episode ahead. Steve and I try to find some kind of beverage to celebrate, whether it's, I think one time we did lemonade or some iced tea, but we've also done whiskey or wine just to celebrate either the author or main character. And Dave always gets the third glass. He is our EP because he has been such a piece of this as we move forward. Because this is a scary thing to start a podcast. I will tell you, it is bewildering, and we're figuring it out as we go. And I hope we're getting better at it, but you've done a lot to support it. So why do you think this podcast was worth starting? Because you're the one who convinced me in the end.
I listen to a lot of podcasts. It's what I do when I'm driving. I discovered podcasts actually because of you, though. So if we go back about 10 years, I was on a work trip to Poland, and there's a lot of time on an airplane where you're not going to be connected to the internet or anything. And holding a book and trying to read, as we have discussed, might not have been the thing for me to be doing at the time. Although a book that you had recommended to me was Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. I found out Jocko had a podcast.
It's pretty life-changing.
Right? And with podcasts, you can download them to the memory on your phone, so you don't have to have any kind of connection. And I was able to have plenty of listening material because there were several. This trip was in 2016, I think, not 2015. Jocko Podcast, I think, started in 2015 or so, if I'm not mistaken. So there was a fair amount of content at that point that I could just have on my phone and listen to, and I was hooked. From there, it opened up, right? Because Tim Ferriss, I think, is who turned Jocko on to podcasts, so I had to listen to his podcast. There's a lot of rabbit trails to go down and things that I like to listen to as a jiu-jitsu guy too, right?
Yes, every jiu-jitsu reference has come from Dave. And in like the Beowulf episode, totally David. Somebody thought I did jiu-jitsu. No, I'm just jiu-jitsu associated affiliate.
You're welcome, listeners.
It's grappling, if you're wondering. But the question was, why did you think this podcast was worth doing? Because we are nothing like Jocko.
For sure.
Jocko does tell stories. And I think I mentioned his boots, his Rudyard Kipling, but he did such a good job with boots.
I think that's episode 32 or 38. I can't remember which.
What? Do you know the numbers?
It was one of the earlier ones.
Amazing. I did not know that.
He was only going to do 25 or so, and you've made it to that.
Well, he's on hundreds now.
They kept going.
Yeah, highly recommend Jocko podcast if you don't know.
Completely different type of podcast than this. But where I was going with that is that was the gateway podcast for me. Podcasts are just conversations that people are having, and I like a long format. And some of the best long format conversations that I've listened to are yourself, are Steven. Sometimes I get to be involved in those, but we're sitting around after dinner. Those happened when we lived in different geographical locations, right? When we go visit each other, we'd stay up late, kind of in the fashion that your family is masterful at doing.
Staying up very late. I'm bad at staying up late, but the family could do it big time.
Oh yeah. So we do that, but now it happens more frequently, but with less intensity, I would say. We're all together kind of in the same area. And it's been just an absolute blessing to me. But as a listener of other podcasts, I always thought that these people are totally qualified to put together a podcast, and not only put together a podcast, but talk about things that people would appreciate. And I think there's definitely people like me out there that listen to all these podcasts. The way you guys talk about it, it's approachable. Okay, Steven knows a ton of stuff about a ton of things. And he doesn't, to me, make me feel like lesser because I don't know those things. You're excellent at engaging a conversation, asking questions, and you know quite a bit in your own right. Both of you are prolific readers. I don't know how many people listen to episode 1 of Good Stories podcast, but you guys go into your history a little bit. I know everybody growing up there's pros and cons to everything, but there's a lot of things that I envy about the way you guys grew up, just having that kind of time. Like, what am I going to do? I'm going to read a book. I'm going to read this whole box of books we got at the garage sale.
Stack of books and a watermelon. That's what means summer.
What do you need? What do you need? And the quiet, right? You know, I had the ride around the neighborhood on the BMX bike and play with your friends and just running around doing standard basic dude stuff. But yeah, there's something cool about just being able to, like, the idea of just being able to read a lot of material and just having the time and the watermelons to do it.
And the watermelons. Truly what I like is just the abundance of stories. I mean, the more books you read and stories you listen to, because those are my podcasts. I listen to more and more stories. They're different, but they overlap. And what I really like, especially about what Steven's able to do, is bridge stories together. Because it is, so Tolkien talks about the soup of story and when, different people pull out different pieces at different times. Tolkien talks about the soup, and Steven's so good at bridging. Just, if you read a book, a story, you hear a story, you don't necessarily know all that. And he's really great at integrating. His entire works of Chesterton reading really serves in that way because he can remember it. Man, I wish I could remember more things. I take notes, everybody. I'm a note taker. But in terms of our show here, I'm just curious, like, what do you like about supporting this show, and what do you think is hard?
What do I like about supporting this show in the capacity as the
EP,
quote unquote, executive producer?
It's not quote. You are the EP.
That's right, listeners. I am the executive producer.
This has been the title from the beginning. EP. So what do you enjoy about it, and what's hard?
What I enjoy about it is seeing, I don't know if you guys thought you could do this or whatever, but seeing and hearing what I thought could work, working. and not only working, but working better than I ever envisioned it. I think you guys are killing it.
Oh, thank you.
And it's something that I wish everybody could hear, right? The conversations that I was blessed to be a part of, blessed to listen to. And, when there's something like beautiful that you want to share with, when I go backpacking, right? There's a piece of me that if you're not there, I'm kind of sad, right? Because there's that beautiful ridge with the sunrise or sunset I get to witness, but I don't get to share it with anybody, right? Or I'm not sharing it with you. And the podcast, everyone gets to share some of that.
Yeah.
And that's what stories are for. That's what these conversations are for, is they're an inclusive thing. And even if there's something that resonates with you or creates discord with you, it evokes something. You're not neutral while you're listening to a story. And I think stories that you guys process so well, make approachable very well, they're at least how I make sense of the world. I think I suspect it's how most people psychologically make sense of the world. An event happens in your life, and how do you remember it in your head? You might have pictures, you might have words, smells, sounds, whatever, but those are just snippets and images without a plot. And there's characters and things like that. So when you have stories about things that are good, that are true, that are beautiful, that you can overlay on top of stories that you remember about your life, I think they can help us direct our lives in good ways. Scriptures, perhaps if we listen to something from the Inklings, or read something from the Inklings, or even just a like, I don't know, were you covering a Crichton novel at some point?
It's on the episode list for sure. We haven't done it yet, but
Something more
Charles
contemporary.
Williams is coming up. Warren Heaven. He is thought to be entitled The Oddest Inkling. I don't think most people have heard of him. Most people, that's too broad.
I had heard of Warren Heaven. I didn't know the author though, myself.
I think he's less known as one of the Inklings because his stuff is a little bizarro, but it has a lot of the same themes and depth to it. So
more or less bizarre than The Ball and the Cross.
See, that's hard because they're a different generation, Chesterton, but I would rank them kind of similar.
Okay. I was ignorant of The Ball and the Cross
Me
before
too.
your podcast.
Me too.
Yeah.
See, I learn things all the time. The real difference for me with podcasting versus just talking to Steven over time, my life to date, is that he and I both read the story. We know the story. So it's not just talking about the tertiary stuff. You have to convey the plot. And that is both a challenge, but it's also really good because it puts you into it more. I have to think about it more. I don't know about Steven. I can't speak for him. But for me, it's an entirely different thing to try to convey the important parts of a plot to someone else who hasn't read it.
Mm-hmm.
And do you, as someone who hasn't read most of these books and stories that we've done, like, do they come across clear? Like, do you feel like you understand the story, or does it just make you want to read it, or both?
Makes me want to read it. And frankly, I trust the way you do summarize these stories because of the ones that I have read. You nailed it.
I would love for the output of this podcast for people to read more of the stories that we enjoy, because not all of them are happy stories. War in Heaven, it's called War in Heaven. It's not a lighthearted tale, although it is funny at parts. But
we need those.
Yeah.
Not all the stories in my mind that I use to interpret my life are happy stories. Many of them are. I had a great life. There's times and things that are more difficult to process. And if you have things that deal with, like, if every story was fluffy, there wouldn't be any substance, right?
See, that's, I think, the danger of what people choose to read, because there's a lot of fluff reading out there, and I actually have no problem with it in measure. But if that's all you choose to read when you go to the library and you go to a bookstore, you are missing out. It'd be like eating only cotton candy all the time.
It's like the cat videos of literature.
Yes, it's like the cat videos. I hadn't thought of it that way. But yeah, that's right. That was really my next question, though, is if you're not much of a reader, and what I knew when I met you is when you count. I learned that you counted pages when you read books. Like, if you're a page counter, it is hard for me to believe that you like reading. Like, I never count pages. I'm sorry to anyone who does. David does, and I love him, so don't feel bad.
I don't dislike reading. Just most of what the reading I've done in my life has been recommended or assigned to me. And for whatever reason, that's the one that I'm going to pick last.
Fair enough. So, well, that was what I was going to say. So if you don't tend to read much yourself, has this show or just, I mean, even these conversations, talking to Steven, you're going to end up talking about literature and stories. I mean, has that changed how you look at not just books, but also stories? And you spoke a little bit to that already about you can make sense of your own story with them, but I don't know. How has it changed?
It's less about making sense of my own story, although to an extent that's true. It's more about I'm in the middle of my own story. And it's not just about me. It's about you and our kids and about our family, right? It's about our community. Like, we are all living in a story collectively, and we all have our individual stories. But how do you contextualize that? And not just to make sense of things, but to direct things. Stories about Arthur. And Arthur especially, I think, what was that? Like, that was a while ago. Was that episode 4 or so?
4 or 5 in there. The Arthur Sampler.
The Arthur Sampler. Arthur's a hard subject to approach because there are so many myths about him and about his knights, and it permeates other story. It's less that there's the book. Arthur himself, like is it on the sword or the scabbard? That's keep me, throw me away.
On the sword.
Yeah.
On Excalibur, I
Excalibur.
believe.
And what do you do with that? Or what was more important, the sword or the scabbard? Mm-hmm. And the way those things are approached. Well, I like to, at least I hope, that there was a fair amount of wisdom in the past that the people that were thinking about these stories, that were writing these stories, had through experience and through who they were. They were somebody if it's forming a major part of our culture today, right? They're seeds and roots for our culture today.
Yeah, I actually heard about a thing where, somebody found like Beethoven music from way back when, like hidden in the wall, and they listened to it and they're like, well, this is kind of bad. Like, that's why he hid it in the wall. He threw it away. The stuff that was real quality, it stands the test of time. We still know about it because it is of such high quality.
The stuff that was real quality?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What did I say?
It sounded like real equality.
No, real quality.
Sure. And it stood the test of time, I hope, for a reason. Mm-hmm.
I think it was a Kipling quote I found that said, if all of history was told as a story, it would never be forgotten. It's when we read history as this dry, boring thing, lifeless. Those weren't real people living it. Like, those weren't real people having thoughts. Like, what did people back then think about? What we think now must be better because it's now. Well, that's not quite true.
Well, that's what I loved about history is the excellent professors and teachers that I had versus the kind of the run-of-the-mill type ones. The excellent ones, Sean Coco, if you're out there, I don't know.
I would love for him to listen. Sean Coco, get on board.
They were able to approach things as not only a story in and of themselves, but connect them to other stories. To understand Renaissance Italy, you really have to understand The Sopranos. And if you watch The Sopranos, you can kind of understand how Renaissance Italy operated.
It's a good example.
Then you just have to know who's who, right? And it's like, oh, now I get it now. I know Stephen has feelings about the Renaissance that are probably founded if you're thinking about, again, the good, the true, and the beautiful.
He'll talk about that at some point. Don't worry.
Good. But yeah, every era in history, you know what? They were all people. Mm-hmm. And that's what we have in common with them is our culture was different. Our language was a little bit different. Our technology was different. But we process things with stories, and we're all humans.
People were people then, just like people are people now.
Yeah.
Here's a fun one, and I'm going to just spring it on you. I didn't prep you at all. If you had to pick one story or book, whatever, from your childhood that really stuck with you.
The Velveteen Rabbit.
I knew it. Oh, my gosh. Why?
It's just an incredible story. It's a children's story, but it's more than that. I guess like all the good ones probably are. But that boy, and I don't think the boy's actually named. He's just the
He's
boy.
the boy. Mhm.
Yeah. He loves his rabbit, but it didn't start that way. He got this stuffed rabbit in his stocking for Christmas, right? And there were so many cooler toys out that he played with, right? Like mechanical toys and things like this. And in the nursery at night, all the toys, it kind of reminded me of Toy Story, actually, after the boys in bed.
Totally.
The toys would communicate with each other, and whiz-bang mechanical ones would boast about their mechanical workings and coolness.
All the Buzz Lightyears.
Right. But there was some night where the boy didn't have his standard toy to go to sleep with. And his nurse finds the Velveteen Rabbit. Just, hey, here's your nice rabbit you got for Christmas. Here, go to bed with that. Here, be happy, right? And the boy loved that rabbit, right? And it became his companion. Right? And honestly, the boy's life sounded a little bit lonely. He didn't sound like he had friends. He would play with his toys in the garden or in the nursery or whatever. But that little Velveteen Rabbit, it's funny, bunnies is a thing now, I guess, because you did Watership Down, we got the Velveteen Rabbit. But through time, this Velveteen Rabbit becomes threadbare and worn. This rabbit understood from, I think it was like a rocking horse. It's the oldest toy in the nursery, and he became real. Velveteen Rabbit's like, real? What's that? He's like, you'll know it. You'll know it when you become real. And so the Velveteen Rabbit is loved by this boy, and that's how you become real, is through being loved. That's just a profound thing to me. That reflects when you're chosen by him, basically, you become real. He removes your heart of stone and gives you a heart of flesh, right? And that's what it reminds me of. But he becomes real. This bunny becomes real basically by being loved by this boy. And then his realness is challenged by actual bunnies when he's left out in the garden through a series of events and meets real rabbits that ask him to jump with them, and they find out that he can't.
I like that they're fat and bunchy.
They're fat and bunchy.
That's great
right?
adjectives.
Well, then they would get long, right? And poor Velveteen Rabbit, he's just embarrassed by this, and he cries, basically. He can't. He realizes he must not actually be real. But he is loved by the boy. Then later the boy gets sick. He gets some kind of
Scarlet fever.
Is it scarlet fever? Yeah, and then all his stuff has to be burnt.
Mm-hmm. It's
right?
Contagious.
And so this bunny is taken out behind the fowl shed, I think, ingloriously, with a bunch of toys, right, to be burnt. That rhymes with some things.
It's in Toy Story 2 as well.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. But he's real. He has a salvific experience.
Was it a fairy who comes? I forget.
Yes.
Now. Yeah.
I believe it's the fairy that actually makes him real.
So he's fat and bunchy.
Yes, and he can jump and do all the things, and he gets to go be real, and he's given a new body. He is not only is he saved, because he was saved before, he was real before he was taken to the fire, basically, and was taken out of the fire by this. He wasn't literally lit on fire first, but he was taken to be burnt and then snatched out of that, and then the agent of a higher power is the way I would think of it, but they don't say that. It's just a kid's story. But this fairy comes and gives him a new body. And so it's probably not a perfect analogy, right, by any stretch. I don't think it was, maybe it was meant to be some kind of rudimentary story about salvation.
There's always parallel. That's a C.S. Lewis for someday you'll be old enough to read fairy stories again. You read these childhood stories, or like all the George MacDonald fairy tales. They have far more in common with our life as adults and with the things we truly need to learn. What we all need to learn, but I am still learning, than many things that are, textbooks that provided to learn, specific lessons.
Right. Well, and I'm glad I have the Velveteen Rabbit as a formative story, right? When you have things like that to stand on, as like fundamental foundational things. I think that it sets you up for success. If my foundational stories was about this, I don't know what it would exactly look like, but this rabbit that was left out to burn, and he got caught on fire and then somehow was put out and then was out for revenge or something like that.
Oh, no. I've seen that movie.
As like a zombie rabbit. I don't know. I mean, it would be completely different.
Yeah, no.
You know, I wouldn't have, where's the hope?
Truly, that is the thing with stories in general and books in general. Like, what you choose to focus on and take from it, I think indicates a lot about where you're sitting, who you are, what you're looking for. And that's why, you should read books over again. I know as the idea of like getting through a book can be intimidating, and you tell me that, but for me, like, each time you read a book or a story that you loved the first time, you're going to get more out of it the next time, whether it's the Velveteen Rabbit or the complete works of G.K. Chesterton. I mean, and everything in between, because you change.
Rereading, I don't do that a lot, but I will tell you the Lord of the Rings trilogy I'm on my second reading of actually going through that thing, because I read it 20 years ago. I'm like, this is my favorite ever. So, of course, I'm going to reread this. So 20 years later, guess what? I'm doing it again.
Getting after it.
Yeah. Dude, I get way more out of it.
Yeah.
And where I do love the movie, I think Peter Jackson did a great job. There's a lot of things that it's just not like Faramir is far more noble.
The Two Towers is hard for me in a movie form, but I understand there are people who love it, and I do not want to detract from that. I just think the book is so wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, the books are wonderful, or I think it's referred to as the book, like the book Lord of the Rings. I think your brother used it as singular, and I was like, that's interesting. And now I'm looking at least the copies, or the copy that I do have, the page count, because I count pages, continues into through the trilogy, right? So I'm in. It doesn't start over at page 1 on the first page of the Two Towers. It's several hundred whatever page, right? I don't count them that close that I know what page number that is, Jody.
I don't know. I can't help you.
I think I remember as a kid riding the bus to school. Like, we're talking elementary school. And
that was reading time. That's when I read books.
Well, that was reading time for a kid that I was sitting next to. And I forget what book he was reading. We were probably into the Goosebumps books or something like that. I know. She's cringing right now for the listeners. She is cringing so hard right now. I enjoyed the Goosebumps books. I enjoyed the Boxcar Children as well.
I'm okay with Boxcar Children.
Okay.
Nancy Drew, Trixie Belden, Hardy Boys, also great.
Hardy Boys sound like they really got after it in a way that...
got after it.
Yeah. Dude, those guys, man.
What was the kid reading?
I think it was Goosebumps or something like that. But I was impressed because in that bus ride, which was like a 20-minute bus ride, he read 10 pages, Jody. And that's with us being obnoxious on the bus or whatever. I was trying to read a book on the bus, and I got like 2 pages. I think because there was a standard now, and I was woefully behind the standard. Because this kid, I forget even who it was, but this kid read 10 pages. I figured, okay, I need to be able to get 10 pages on the bus ride. I think now, at the age I am, I could smoke him.
Goosebumps.
I could read
10 pages
way
of
more than 10 pages of Goosebumps.
I believe you could.
Yes. Yeah. But then I was impressed. And I think that started my page counting. I never considered myself that competitive of a person. I don't feel like I'm that
Just came
by
to you
nature.
naturally.
No, I don't think I am. But
okay.
no, I don't. It wasn't even a competitive thing. I was just impressed that he could do it. I was like, wow, if I could do that, if I could read 10 pages, I would be like sentient, right? This would be like the next level of existence.
We clearly did not know each other in our youth. You know what I read on the bus in elementary school? Gone with the Wind. It's long. I don't know how many pages. It is very long.
Like, so the antebellum South, Gone with the Wind?
Gone with the Wind.
You were approaching some heavy subject matter. How much about did that come across to you as a
Well, that's the
elementary
thing,
school
like
kid?
a child who watches a movie that's over their head, you gloss over. Like, I technically read it, but yeah, a lot of it, no idea.
Yeah.
But I read it, technically. I'm like, okay.
So, to another thing to the listeners. So, we're talking about reading stories in print, but another form of stories is movies. And one thing that Stephen and Jody grew up with is movies. Their father is I think a movie buff would be not even.
Let's go with fanatic.
Yeah, but it's not like he's fanatical about it in the way he wants to talk to you about movies and convert you to the way of movies.
It's more chronic. Every night.
He just got movies on all the time.
All the time.
And
Whole
so
life.
when Jody and I, early in our marriage, we lived in Boston for a couple years, and then it was time to come back to the West. We came back west into Washington State and getting on our feet from our stint in Boston, where she got her graduate degree and did amazing things. We were poor. And we lived with Jody's folks for a year while we got on our feet. And in that year, I was exposed to so many movies, some of them amazing, some of them less so. But yes,
that's
so
true.
I lived this life, the life that she lived her whole life. I got to experience for a year. A snippet. And there's some great stuff out there. There's some really great westerns and just classics.
Like, I learned a lot about World War I and World War II history through movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's true.
All Quiet on the Western Front, which is also a book.
Oh, there's a bunch of them. 12 O'Clock High.
Guns of Navarone.
Great Escape is a great movie.
Escape.
Oh, I don't know. There's not a lot of history in that one. It's just a great movie.
Yeah.
Long movie, but really good. Okay, I feel like we're getting distracted here.
But I digress.
But you digress. You like the long format. He always wants us to digress. I don't know.
That's what's great about podcasts. Okay, I really don't have a lot of patience for highly produced and highly polished things that hit a point and then they hit another point. Then they hit the closing point and then the ads and then you're good.
You know that's not me ever.
No, you cover the plot, but you wend and you wonderful, especially when things cross-reference each other because stories that we use to interpret things, they're a mesh that does have overlap and there are themes.
It's true. Okay, so what's one thing about either our podcast or us meaning me and Steven, that you think people might find interesting? Maybe it's the movie thing.
That sounds like the easy answer.
Easy button
would be Easy Button is the movie we just talked about. Yeah, the movie thing. Covered it. No, next question. Jody is a lady of many talents. One of them, she can do podcasts, right? And as a reader, appreciates stories and words. Another is that she is probably the most competent with an Excel spreadsheet I've ever met. I learned all I know about Excel from her, and if it wasn't for that knowledge, I wouldn't be in my job today, which is in the tech industry. Yeah, as a history major, I ended up in the tech industry in a wonderful company, honestly, and it would not have worked if I couldn't use a spreadsheet and VLOOKUPs and make things look good, or at least interpretable.
You know what's funny is it's totally telling a story with data. I'll tell you that right now. If you know how to use Excel well, you are taking a whole bunch of data and you're telling a story. Isn't that interesting? I think that's super cool.
That's super cool. Actually, that's what I'm working on, is doing a better job of telling stories about outcomes versus just outputs. Like, hey, here's what we did.
Yeah,
here's
and you
this
just
other
need
thing. Here's this other thing. But what did
tool to do it? That's cool.
Yeah, what was the value? It's storytelling. Guess what? Everything comes back to storytelling.
It does. Since we've started that, I hear people say all the time, like, oh, you want to hear a good story? Or I have a good story. Or, oh, I heard a great story the other day. People say it all the time. We intrinsically think that way. Like, our life and stories are stories that we hear. And not just books, but, things that happen in your life. Yeah. Or, oh, saw this thing. Or things that, happened to somebody else even. Oh, you want to hear a great story? It's totally a thing.
Jiu-jitsu has storytelling Tons of storytelling.
Does it?
Oh, you have the jujitsu lore. You have the Gracie family, which is just a fascinating thing.
I did read that book.
Hicks and Gracie's Breathe.
Breathe, yes.
Oh, I read that book too. We wouldn't have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or it wouldn't be called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Probably it would just be Jiu-Jitsu without the Gracies. How do you go find a gym, right? You can go find a gym to train at, but like, you know, who are you learning from? What's their story? Like, is it just some like random dude, or is it like some kind of champion? And the story that's expressed just daily. Hey, I was rolling with Zach and he got me with this, or I was rolling with Cameron and he got me with that, right? Whatever it was. I was got with many things in different ways. It's the story.
True story.
Yeah. Yeah. I have experienced 478 ways to be humbled. Whatever it is, but they're stories.
So if you were forced, I know you don't like being prompted to read specific books in any way, but if you had to read one book or story, because we've done sampler ones from the episodes we've done to date, which one would you pick? From
the episodes you've done to date?
Mm-hmm.
Captain's Courageous. And that hurts because I would want to say The Hobbit, because I love The Hobbit, but Captain's Courageous it's something that every young man should read, honestly. And they should read it as they're becoming a young man, while they're a young man, and then they should read it promptly afterwards as like an after-action review from being a young man. What did we learn here?
What age would you categorize young man? As young as and as old as? What's the spectrum?
Well, so young man being different from just a boy, right? So I think you get around the age 13, cultures seem to have a thing about bar mitzvahs happen then. I did, before jiu-jitsu, I studied karate for a while. There's, I forget what the name of the book is, but the kind of founder of Shotokan karate was Gichin Funakoshi. And if I recall correctly, he wrote a book about the right time for a young man around 13, as they're starting to change from just being a boy. Yeah, it's close to the age when you start thinking about getting a job. It's when you start coming out of the home and doing stuff. Start changing, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's about the right time. And
you have more responsibilities too.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah. And I think around 10, when you're the age of the kid in the story, is he 10? Do they say the age even?
That's what confused me.
They use that in the movie.
The movie, he's much younger. Both movies, the older one and the newer one. In the book, he's 15. He's older in it than I ever thought. He's past time in that book.
Well, I wouldn't say 15. There's a window in there.
That's what I mean. Like, I think the movies made him younger by intention because it is kind of ahead of that curve.
Yeah.
And in the book, he's behind the curve. And I actually think that fits better. And he catches up. Harvey's awesome. So, yeah. Captain's Courageous. Highly recommend.
Yeah. Oh, I'll put in, I was brought up in a Lutheran church, and affirmation of baptism, confirmation is around that age too. Mm-hmm. There's something about that, right? You're not an adult. You can't be trusted with the privileges and responsibilities fully as an adult, but you better start learning them, right? And that's about the right time. And I think Captain's Courageous is perfect for that, right? That's the story you should be understanding. Hey, it's time to start stepping up and being a man.
Truly, I love the words in the book itself. Great Kipling. But the movie, the old one from, I don't know, it's black and white with Manuel, and Spencer Tracy is Manuel. It's so good. I maybe might recommend the old movie, even over the book. You've seen and read it.
Yes.
Do you agree?
Yes, although
they're both really good in different ways. Similar but different.
This is one I have to take the book.
Yeah.
100 every day. Like, yes, the movie's wonderful in its own way. It's touching. In the newer one from the 90s, they're not in Gloucester. They're like, they call it Gloucester, but they sail into what's clearly the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, it's very West Coast.
I'm like, those are fir trees.
Wait a second.
Gorgeous fir trees.
It's still pretty. It's
Yeah.
okay.
No, I think that it's a ballpark, right? You don't have to be exact. 15's fine in the book, whatever it is. But for a young man, I am no longer in the young man category. But there's a lot of times I think if I went and did being a young man better, I'd be better off today. And they're the exact things that I'd want to pass on to my son.
Just one more question, I think. Doing this work, like you've helped us with, especially with the sound and technology. I mean, if you listen to our early episodes, we've come a long way, and that is in almost entirely due to David's generosity and help and in terms of sound and things. But there's also some other stuff just in making little decisions about titles and episode. I've learned so much in doing this, but you've been a huge help. So I'm working on not just a book podcast, but a stories podcast. To me, it's broader than just books.
Yes.
What have you learned about how we learn from story, or if you have learned anything? I've learned things for sure. So I'm curious if you've learned anything about stories in doing this.
That they're all connected. And it's something that I think most people probably can feel or understand at some level and in some way, especially the way you and Stephen bring things together. It's like, oh yeah, they're all connected. There's archetypes, there's tropes, there's paradigms.
Does that make them better, or do you find that just repetitive?
I do not think repetitive comes into this.
I've not felt that way yet, but
I
just
think
in
it would
saying
be
it that way,
I think it would be incredibly arrogant to be like, I understand epics because Beowulf.
Fair.
Right? Like
That
what
would be
about
arrogant.
Cahulin? Like what about the Toyne, right? Like that's got its own vibe to it, right? And different, and what's great about that is, wow, even though they're similar, even though they have things that rhyme, even though they have various paradigms, right, that fit. You have a hero, whatever. I think their differences also really give you a lot of insight into who the people were, like culturally, that came up with, like, for example, in an epic, right? Like you can really talk about the difference between like Nordic / Anglo-Saxon folks from Beowulf with like Irish Celtic folks from the Toyne versus, I guess, the Iliad, right? The Greek cultures and so on and so forth. But that would just be one, there's those things about how Star Wars and Harry Potter's the same story, seeker stories. The fact that it's even a conversation, because some of these arguments are fun to have, even if you don't necessarily think that exact thing. Let's oversimplify for rhetoric, right? Yeah, they're the same story or whatever, right? And let's say that, and then let the controversy unfold and just have people have opinions about it and have a conversation about it. It keeps both stories going in its own way.
I've been listening to one called Classical Stuff You Should Know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like 15 episodes in, really liking it. But they're talking about logical fallacies. And that is a distractor fallacy in logic, where you simplify something complex so that you can compare it to something else and be like, well, it's basically the same thing. And then you can either like support it or crap on it in turn because you simplified it from what it was. Logical fallacy. I just learned about that.
Right on. I am great at having logical fallacies.
You love some red herrings and some straw man arguments. It was really interesting, actually.
Actually, I think logic was part of my undergrad, and it was one of those classes that I dearly wanted to do well in. And, there's the classes you don't do well in because you don't try. And then there's the classes that you don't do well in despite the fact that you tried. Mm-hmm. Yeah, logic was one that I tried. I tried hard on that one.
Ooh, mine was multivariable calc. I was terrible at it, but I found it super interesting. Like, I wish I was better at it. Wasn't, but it was great. Okay, well, in terms of coming up with artificial scenarios, I want to end with a super fight because this is fun. I made Steven do it. So here we go. You ready? Jocko in his prime. Jocko Willink, people. Navy SEAL. Wonderful leader. Excellent. Discipline equals freedom. Versus Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime. Bodybuilder. Arnold the Terminator.
Well, is he actually the Terminator in this case, or is he?
I just made it vague. You go.
Well, let's see. I don't know, but I'm going to have to. Actually, I do know. It's Jocko. I'm sorry.
Jocko.
He's got
discipline equals freedom, people.
There is a scenario where I don't know who put the scenario forward with Jocko, but somebody had asked him, like, he hated these hypothetical type questions.
I know exactly where you're going with this.
What would you do if death came? Double leg takedown, steal his scythe, and free the world.
Free the world from death. I think it was his supporting person on the Echo Charles prompted that.
Yeah,
long ago.
which is a pretty hubristic thing to say. Like, there's only one has saved the world from death, and it wasn't Jocko. Started with a J, though.
I like that he aspires. That's great. He does not like hypothetical situations. So I'm going to put him in another one.
Okay.
This one's more literary, somewhat bigger concept. Jocko, and I have an answer to this one. Jocko Willink versus Father Time.
I think he has a supplement that is waging war against time. I forget what it's called.
Well, my argument, because Jocko's whole thing is waking up before the enemy. Right? Father Time wakes up even earlier.
You can't beat time.
You can't beat time. Father Time wins. But Jocko's awesome. So
okay, but why is it Father Time? Like, I don't know this. Like, is there like a story that I didn't read, but that where Father Time shows up and he's a character?
Steven's not here. How am I to answer? That's totally a Steven question. I don't know.
Okay.
Steven, where are you?
Yeah, he's been gone too long.
Yeah, I'll write that down. We'll have another shirt. Why is Father Time a dude? Why don't we have Mother Time?
I understand time. Time don't care. Time keeps going.
I'm digging in the memory banks. I don't know. Father Time.
Time don't stop for anybody.
That's true.
So, it doesn't. Time does not stop.
Father Time wins.
Yep.
All right. So I did find a great quote today. It's not targeted at you. It's for all of us. But it came from Penguin Books. And here it is. It says, "You don't have to read a huge amount of books to be a reader. Read what you want to read at a pace that works for you." I like that very much.
Dude, I'm a reader by that definition.
That's exactly it. It's when you get things out of books, out of stories, and if that's every 20 years to the Lord of the Rings, so be it. Yeah?
I read other stuff too.
I know you do.
I want to read that more. There's just more and more people that either understand Lord of the Rings only because of the movies, or they just dearly love the books, and I want to be able to have the conversation better. Like, I was getting fired up about when Merry and Pippin are being taken by the orcs across the plains of Rohan. I call it Rohan. I've heard multiple podcasts where people pronounce it Rohan.
I say Rohan. Who knows? I don't care about pronunciation.
Yeah, I'm gonna call. I should mix it up too, because I actually don't care that much either about the pronunciation itself. Except for some reason, I'm going to choose to die on the hill of Rohan, where I forget if it's Merry or Pippin, but he takes the brooch that he gets in.
Pippin.
Okay, you know these things.
I didn't know Father Time, but I knew that one.
Yes, but not lightly. I think what was the quote? Not lightly do the leaves of Lorien fall. Right, and that was Aragorn found it. Mm-hmm. That is awesome. They knew for sure that their efforts. They thought they were running across. So when I say Gimli,
the three hunters.
Yes, thank you. They thought their errand was probably in vain at that point. But the elven craftsmanship, you just don't find that on the ground randomly. That's something special, and that just the hope that they had, that their efforts. Another factoid about me is there was several years in my life where I did search and rescue. And if you're on a mission that you don't know what the outcome is going to be, and you get some glimmer of hope like that, like, hey, my team found like unequivocal evidence that this person's out there, or that we're on the right track, that all this effort that we've been doing is going to potentially come to fruition in a good way, that's just, I understood the hope that they felt in their hearts, but I'm sure it was even more because we're talking about the fate of Middle Earth here. And so that one touched me. And I'm sure it goes even deeper than that on several levels, because that's just how they roll, true writers like that. But that one touched me.
And now you know how much of that story came from Beowulf. Beowulf might be my favorite episode we've done so far, because I had not read it, and it is amazing. And so much of Lord of the Rings.
Rips an arm off Grendel, I approve.
Oh my gosh, so cool.
Yep.
Anyway, imagine how much more you're going to get out of it in another 20 years when you read it again.
Maybe I won't wait so long.
Maybe a decade. We'll see.
Maybe I'll stretch it out for 20 years and really savor it.
Oh, yeah, that'll be good. All right. So a big thank you to you, David, for coming on to chat like this. I think it's actually very difficult to not just listen, but to share stories, share something of yourself and get on board and have something to say. That's definitely been a learning curve for me, is to, what do you say about stuff, right? If you have to actually tell the story of the Velveteen Rabbit, it's entirely different than just absorbing it. And I think there is a richness and I use the word depth too much, but I mean it. There's a depth there. It adds something when you have to and get to tell the story.
Well, hats off to you, to Stephen, and to all podcasters, really, people that are out there not looking for anything, like not trying to make a living out of this, not trying to, what do you gain from it? Definitely not like tangible things that you gain from it. It's
super fun, I tell you.
Yeah. You're sharing your heart with the world, and it's a pretty vulnerable thing to do. And I'm behind a mic once, and I'm feeling that in a more poignant way than I've ever before. So thanks for putting a mic in front of my face.
I feel like you asked for it. So, so here you are.
It was bound to happen.
It's true. You wanted to do it. So here you are. Now you know his voice and his name, and that he's out there helping us with this as well. So I do thank you. So thank you all for listening. And it's really weird that Stevie isn't here. I got to tell you, it's really throwing me off a little bit, especially because he's not here to end it, which is kind of his thing. But I will just say that I hope you join us for whatever comes next, and I look forward to it.
If you want to hear a real story, join them on the Mainline Good Stories podcast.